Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
And I'm Russ.
And a very extra special welcome to all of you. I know we have some potentially new faces here.
Today we're here to talk about Trace.
Yeah.
And we invited all of our Trace Kickstarter backers to the show. So thank you, everybody who tunes in to Shaper Sessions every week. We're super happy to have you back. Hope you extend that warm welcome in the chat to all of our new Sessions viewers.
Yeah. We have a very exciting show today because we're going to do a deep dive on Trace from top to bottom. We're going to show you all the different kinds of applications for it, how-tos, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah. For everybody who's new to Shaper Sessions, this is a live stream that we do every other Thursday. And we try to get you up to speed on all our latest products and how to use them. So we've done a lot of trainings on Shaper Origin, our handheld CNC machine. We've done a lot of trainings on Shaper Studio, our simplified digital design tool for craftspeople. We've done one training for Trace so far, and that was a long time ago. And a lot of stuff has changed since then. And a lot of you are starting to receive your Trace kits in the mail. So we thought this was the perfect time to go through the whole thing, start to finish, from unboxing to doing a bunch of demos. We're going to do demos with not just Origin today, but we also have our laser cutter out here, and we have the vinyl cutter off to the side. We're going to use all this stuff today, and it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah. I'm going to start it off.
Sweet.
Let's just get right into it.
We love to just show people how stuff works. Why talk when you can show? So Trace is our newest tool that takes your sketches and turns them into digital vector files that you can use with a wide variety of digital fabrication tools in just seconds. So Jake just sketched out hello here on this pad. We're going to bring the Trace frame over. He's going to take a quick capture with the phone. So let's make sure we got the phone pulled up on the screen here, ready to go. And we're going to walk you through all this in much more detail soon. There you go. There's that vector file.
Boom.
Hello.
Just that easy.
We could laser cut that. We could vinyl cut that. We could embroider that. We could CNC that. We could 3D print that. We could import that into a digital design software like Adobe Illustrator, Fusion 360, all of this stuff. And we're going to walk you through all that stuff. There might be a lot of questions during the show. Everybody who's watched one of these shows before is going to be used to this. We take a lot of questions in the chat, and we do a live Q&A at the end of every show. So if you're new, make sure to ask your questions. We have Ted in the chat. He's going to be answering questions. He's one of our favorite CS guys, customer service. If you hit up hello@shapertools.com, you're likely talking to Ted. He's going to be answering questions in the chat. And any questions that get a demo, that deserve a demo, we're going to do live at the end of the show.
Yep. And not to mention, we do a giveaway, multiple giveaways where we spin a wheel with all your names. So make sure to be active in the chat.
To enter that, there's going to be a poll question that pops up halfway through the show. And it's going to ask you a simple question. I think today's is just, what are you excited to use Trace for? Pretty easy question to answer, I think. Or maybe hard, because it's hard to choose.
Yeah. You can do so many things with it.
So think about it in advance. That poll question is going to come up halfway through the show. That's how you get entered for that giveaway. We usually give away like router accessories. Today we're going to give away some swag packs and shirts and stuff, because I know not all of you watching today are going to be router people. We're going to have laser cutter people. We're going to have vinyl cutter people. The whole gamut.
We're branching out.
All right. So I think the first thing that we wanted to do was just open up a Trace and see what's inside, right?
Brand new Trace kit.
So we've got a brand new box right here. If you get this in the mail, this is what it's going to look like. Beautiful packaging. Let's go ahead and open that up.
Oh. Sure.
Yeah, we can do that on the overhead. Thanks, Ned. We've got Ned on the switchboard, by the way, so if you hear us talking to ghosts, that's us talking to Ned.
I get so much satisfaction out of opening things.
Yeah, you get this little pull tab here. Haha. Nice.
There we go.
Here, I'll take this.
All right. So we have our Getting Started booklet.
Yeah, let's look at that. Let's see what's in there. Two things in here. The first one is inspiration.
I love this. And we're going to show you some of these projects today. But a little inspiration booklet just to give you an idea of all the different things that you can do.
Let's show that one off specifically on the Origin cam.
Little foam tool layout for all your carving tools. Graphic design. whatever it may be.
And the getting started guide. Let's go to the overhead cam. This is just, your classic accordion, how to get started. We're going to walk you through all of these steps here during the show, so we don't have to read the manual today.
No. We have a beautiful shaper pen.
Yeah, so this is a special pen, but at the same time, it's nothing special. It's a 0.5 millimeter tip felt pen, and it's going to make really nice lines for you. But at the same time, Trace works with all kinds of drawing implements. Today, we're going to use a Sharpie. We're going to use the Trace pen. We're going to use a pencil. So don't feel limited to this.
And of course, the frame.
Beautiful. Let's look at the anatomy of that thing. What's going on there?
So it is, here we go. On the back side, we have a non-slip coating, so that it makes sure that it stays where you put it. We have the QR code that you're going to scan to get registered. On the top, we have the marker system that's going to tell the app exactly what the scale of your drawing is. And what else? Just a really nice fit and finish.
The one thing that I love about this that you don't notice all the time is these little center line marks.
Mm-hmm.
You see those? So we got some little tick marks there for that center line, vertical and horizontal, if you need to make sure that something's like perfectly aligned.
Yeah.
But that's really it for what's in the box. The key thing that's not in the box, it's in the ether, is the app license.
Yes.
Okay, and so everybody who buys a Trace kit is going to have one license to the Trace app. The Trace app runs on a browser, on a mobile device, that's a phone or a tablet, anything with a rear-facing camera. And let's just get signed in to that. Let's see what it looks like when we start with our brand new Trace kit. So here we are on the phone. Let me know when that's ready to go. Here we are. Okay, so first thing, we're going to pull up the camera. We're going to bring that QR code in, and it's going to say, here we go. Let's go to shapertools.com. It's going to say, welcome to Trace. Cool little scan animation. And it's going to say, sign into your Shaper account. Now, a lot of you who are new to Shaper aren't going to have a Shaper account. You're going to click down here at Create Shaper Account, and that's going to take you to this page to create an account. We're not going to do that today. We already have an account, so Jake is going to go ahead and sign in.
All right.
But that's all you need to do to get started. You just need to scan the QR code. It's going to take you to trace.shapertools.com, and that's where you sign in. It is important that you sign in with the QR code on the frame that you receive, because that is the license to the app. Every QR code is different.
Okay.
Okay. We are signed in to the phone, so let's go ahead and go back to the Trace app here. We can always visit that by just going to trace.shapertools.com. Let's see, did I spell that right? Perfect. And the first thing that it's going to ask you to do is allow your camera. I'm going to show you how to override this so that it always allows you to use your camera later. We're going to do like a pro tip segment at the end. But for now, let's just hit allow. And the first thing that we're going to look at is just how it works. So it says frame not visible right here. You've got this color screen. When the frame comes into the frame, it's black and white and ready to capture. Now, we don't have a drawing yet, so let's go through a couple other things in the app here. On the upper left, we have the settings menu. And we'll just run through this top to bottom. Trace works in both inch and millimeter. It's really easy to toggle between those back and forth. And you can toggle between both of these across our whole ecosystem, right? So on Shaper Origin, if you're using our CNC router, it's really easy to toggle back and forth from inch to millimeter. In Shaper Studio, digital design tool for craftspeople, really easy to toggle back and forth from inch and millimeter. Same in Trace. The next bar here is help and support. If you click that, it's going to take you to the Trace section of support.shapertools.com, which is our help center. This is going to actually reiterate a lot of what we're going over in the live stream today, so you can watch this again later when we post it to YouTube, or check out the help center. If we go back, you can change the default camera here. Phones come with so many cameras these days. We've never really had to mess with this, but in case you're not getting the camera that you expect to use, you might be stuck on the telephoto camera and you might be zoomed way in, right? This is where you would change that camera. And then in this gray area here, these are links to all of our other the rest of our ecosystem,
Yeah.
basically. And all of this stuff is optional, but it's really handy at the same time. So we're going to click over here to Shaper Studio, and you can get a little glimpse into our digital design space. We're not going to use this at all today. Trace does not require Shaper Studio in any way. It's a standalone tool, but there are ways that you can use Trace and Studio together to get some really interesting results, so we'll do another show on that later. If we go back, we're going to see My Files here. So when you sign in to, when you sign up for a Shaper Hub account, it's going to give you a Shaper account that gives you My Files. Hey, Ned, let's pull off the phone screen here. I got to do a quick little refresh. Let's Shaper Hub My Files. My Files is where all of the files that save on Trace are stored.
Yep.
Right? Optionally. It's a nice way to sync across our ecosystem, but at the same time, you can download that stuff to your phone directly or email it to you.
And if you're an Origin user, it's going to go to the same Shaper Hub spot where all of your cut files are. And on the tool, there's going to be a special little tab for just your traces.
Mm-hmm. So we're in My Files now. Got a little hung up on the Wi-Fi here. So we're in My Files. You can see this is where a bunch of these files that we have captured before or made in other design software have been uploaded. We can use these with Origin. We can use these with Studio. This little icon here, the couple of dots that look like the dots on the trace frame next to love.svg, that indicates that that's a trace file. Okay, back to Trace. We've got Shaper Hub. Now, what's Shaper Hub?
Shaper Hub is actually where all of your files are going to go. So all of your design files, all your cut files, and it's also a place where you can go and share your files to the rest of the community. You can download other people's projects. You can download premium projects, hardware from our hardware catalog. It is a ever-growing community and collection of awesome projects.
We have our shop, which is where you can buy things. We've got the accessories page up here. If you need another trace kit for your friend, if you decide you love it that much, find that in the shop. And then, last but not least, you've got your account page. And one thing that we're not going to cover today is community.shapertools.com. It would be cool to have a link to the forum in that dropdown, actually. Feature request.
Yeah.
When you sign on to community.shapertools.com after you make your account, that's where you can interact with all of the other Shaper users, right? We've got a forum there with a nice trace section, origin section. What did you scan with your trace today? People sharing different projects, people helping each other out with Q&A. And these account settings here, back on the phone, this is kind of how you present yourself to the community. So Jake's got his nice headshot here. You want to make sure that you represent yourself as best as possible. Like I said, a Studio subscription is not required for Trace in any way whatsoever, but this is where you would manage that. Some of your details, Jake's little bio, that's nice. And that's it for the settings. Last but not least, up here in the top right corner is a little help button. This will walk you through some of these steps that it takes to make a trace capture. But we're going to do all of this today. Okay, what do you say we make a capture?
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. We've got this drawing here. Pre-made drawing for this one. It's a little rocket ship that one of our coworkers' kids drew. And this goes to show that you can use all different kinds of pens with Trace. This one was made with Sharpie. Nice and thick. So all we're going to do is pull that frame into the frame. Wi-Fi is giving me heck today.
Notice, too, that we're not being
Here we go.
too cautious and shooting directly down. In fact, it's totally okay to come at it like you naturally would, at an angle.
So here we are, ready to capture. We're going from that color view to the black and white view. And the nice thing about this black and white view is that it gives us kind of a preview of that contrast. All I'm going to do is hit that capture button, and it's going to calculate that vector. Now, a couple things that are important about this vector. It is automatically flattened, so de-skewed, all of that camera distortion has been removed, and scale has been automatically preserved, and that's thanks to these visual locators on the trace frame. Now, right off the bat, you're going to see a couple of options. We've got outline and centerline. One thing that Trace does that nothing else does is it captures or calculates that center line. So we can go ahead and do that, and that's going to be really handy for things like engraving with a CNC machine, vector cutting on a laser cutter or a vinyl cutter, things like that. That center line is really handy. We can also use the outline. Now, if we click this button down here, this little slider button, we can go into these adjustment settings. First one we're going to see is object selection. We can remove or select parts of this drawing. This works just like a paintbrush, so I'm going to kind of go over the whole thing with my finger, deselect everything. If I want to select things, just tap, tap, tap to select. I'm going to go ahead and select all this again and actually just remove some of these smaller pieces so that I get that nice kind of outline of a rocket ship. We're keeping the window. I could have gone centerline mode on this, or you can use this selective feature in the outline mode. I'm going to hit done to save that. We're going to go back in here, and this slider right here is smoothness. This is going to be really handy for things where you want nice, smooth lines, like maybe your signature or some lettering, for example. So as you adjust the smoothness, this isn't going to do much for this rocket ship because it's pretty smooth to start with, but it is going to smooth out any jaggedness in these lines. Now, there's kind of a hidden adjustment up here in this drop-down menu, and that is Adjust Scan. If I hit Adjust Scan here, it goes back to this whole scan, and what this is useful for is if maybe you've got a shadow in your frame or a reflection, and you're not getting exactly the contrast that you want, you can use this to adjust the point of contrast, the point that determines black versus white in that drawing. So if I slide this to the left, it's going to go more white. It's got just those outlines there. You can see now as I slide it back toward the middle, it's starting to get kind of fuzzy. So sometimes you'll see a drawing like this if you've got a reflection or a shadow. All you need to do is go in here and just bump that line up until you get nice, full black lines, high contrast. If I bump this all the way up, yeah, actually looks really good. Anywhere from the middle to high on this one's looking really good. These Sharpies are great for tracing. So I'm going to say done there. Same thing, since it did recalculate that, I am going to go ahead and once again remove some of these smaller parts. Okay, done. And last but not least, right, if you hit this check mark, this gives you all the options to save that out. The first thing at the top of the list is Save SVG. This is the one that I use most of the time. What about you?
Especially if I'm just airdropping it between different things or saving it to my files on my phone.
You can save it to your phone. You can email it to yourself. You can airdrop it if you're in the 21st century like Jake.
There you go.
This is really handy. So I actually emailed this to myself earlier. The other options here are Save to My Files. So this is going to save this to your Shaper Hub account. We could call this Rocket Ship. We've done a couple of these. I'm going to say Rocket Ship 7. That's going to automatically save that to your files, so that's going to show up on Shaper Origin, for example, later, or you can manipulate that in Studio. You could also open this directly in Shaper Studio to edit this if you want, or you could share a screenshot, and this is just a little social media thing. This is kind of fun. So you can say, hey, I'm making this with Shaper Trace. You've got two options here. You can pick a style, share that on Instagram, share that on TikTok. I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you nailed it. If you need, for whatever reason, to go back and do a new scan.
One last button. It's this little camera button here on the bottom left. If you hit that button, that lets you go back and take another capture. Okay, let's cut this out. What do you say?
Yeah, I want to make the sticker.
We said it was going to take seconds, and we took like minutes describing all this nonsense. All right. So hopefully everybody can kind of see how fast all that stuff goes. All right, we got the Cricut over here. We got a lot of tools for this show.
We do. It's a messy bench today.
And it's a lot to absorb, too, I know. So after we do this demo, we're going to go into our mid-show break, give everybody a little breather, talk about that poll question, do our little shop tour. Let me make sure this thing's powered on. I love this little... Yeah, there we go. Nice. All right, it's powered up. I'm going to go into my Cricut design space on the laptop here. Now, all you vinyl cutter people are going to be pretty familiar with this. Anybody who's not a vinyl cutter person, it's actually pretty straightforward. We're just going to browse for that rocket ship. I emailed this to myself earlier. Import that. Perfect. Upload. Now we need to take this and add it to our canvas. It's got 3 parts here. Just to make it visible, this window cutout is in here. You can see it's highlighted there. But just to make it visible, I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. That's with the subtract, just so that everybody can see it here. And then the last thing that you need to do for Cricut, this is kind of a funny thing, so you need to go ahead and click this attach button, and that keeps all these pieces locked together when you go to cut them out. I'm going to go ahead and make it. I think that's the next step. We've got the 12 by 12 mat. Continue there. Machine's connecting up. I've got our vinyl ready to go over here. Got to load this in on the extra sticky mat. Oh, nope. It's crooked. Hard to do backwards. There we go.
Nice.
All right, nice. And last but not least, in here, we've got to set our material, vinyl, fine point blade. All that's left, I think it just says press go. So let's let it rip. Ready, Ned?
This thing's so satisfying to watch.
I know. Did I bring the weeder over here?
It's an excellent question. I'll go on a hunt for the weeder.
Yeah, okay, thanks. The weeder, for everybody who is new to vinyl like us, the weeder is how you pick out all the little things that you don't want in your sticker. So we're going to take the window out with the weeder. We got the vinyl. I think I'm not going to use that stuff today. We're just going to pick it off of the mat here. That's it. Fast and easy. Hands off. We're going to peel this off of the Cricut mat.
That's a really sticky mat.
This is too sticky. It's
like for fabric.
sticking a little bit too much. That looks terrible.
Our expertise is
in woodworking. This looks awful. But we can go ahead and just pick off this little window here. There we go. And this is actually nice. It helped me to peel the rest of this off. We're gonna get this little rocket ship tail here.
Now, Trace is preserving the scale of that drawing you did, but if you, say, have your child's drawing and you want to do a smattering of different sizes and do stickers that are different sizes, you can scale that as well.
Mm-hmm. I do want to reiterate, this is a live show. We're learning at the same time. But you can see there's that rocket ship, and if we hold this up, oh, I got vinyl stuck to the drawing now. Got vinyl everywhere. There we go. There's that drawing. There's that sticker. So that's pretty fun.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Okay, one demo down. We're going to show you a couple different combinations, permutations of this demo. We've got one more after the break, which is engraving with Origin.
2 more.
Yeah, first one is engraving with Origin. The second one is going to be laser cutting, a tool cutout for like a shadow board.
Mm-hmm. But for right now, let's go into our mid-show break.
Yeah.
And that poll question is going to pop up, and I just want to ask you, what are you most excited to trace?
Mm-hmm. I'm most excited to trace custom foam inserts for my toolboxes like you showed off earlier in the inspiration booklet.
Definitely. Whether it's for, like, all kinds of knickknacks.
Yeah. And, this is the point at which we just kind of talk about product announcements. We don't really have much this week other than the Trace is shipping, which is exciting. So everybody who ordered Trace on Kickstarter should be receiving that Trace kit in your mail very soon. A lot of people have gotten them already. I think we've shipped about 10,000 of them so far.
The forum is already very active, and it's awesome to see.
So go
people are
check
doing
that
with it.
out. And if you pre-ordered Trace after the Kickstarter closed on shapertools.com, you're up next. So as soon as we fulfill all these Kickstarter orders, we're going to send out those pre-orders.
Yep. We have a really awesome shop tour today.
Yeah.
I'm excited to show.
So this one's from Curtis from Virginia. Curtis, thank you for your patience. I know we put him off a couple of weeks because we had Daryl on last week. We do this thing where we air shop tours from our customers, from our community. You don't have to own anything by Shaper. If you just watch sessions and you enjoy being part of this little community, then send us a shop tour. And I hope that we get somebody's like sewing room shop tour now of their like embroidery or quilting setup. You know,
would be
would
really
that be
cool.
cool or what?
Yeah.
The format is 3 to 4 minutes landscape mode, so it plays well on the laptop, narrated preferably, and you can send those to sessions at shapertools.com. I totally blanked on that one. Sessions at shapertools.com. We've got so many email addresses here. You could send them to hello@shapertools.com too. Ted will just have to forward them to us.
True. And if you have things that you want to know if they're traceable,
you can send those to canYouTraceIt@shapertools.com, but hopefully you can just try it yourself now. So if you send us a shop tour, we'll send you something fun. Typically it's been router bits, origin accessories, but if you are a trace-only person, we can have that conversation. We'll send you a t-shirt. It doesn't have to be router stuff. So send us your shop tour. Sessions@shapertools.com. Okay, let's play that shop tour from Curtis.
Hi, come on in. Let me show you around. Hi, I'm Curtis Thompson. Welcome to my workshop. We're here in Ashland, Virginia. This is a detached garage. It's 22 by 34 feet, insulated, air conditioning, heat. So it's a very nice, comfortable environment to work in. So start off, this is kind of my banner wall. This is our logo for my new company, 320 Workshops. You can see there's plenty of room up here for a Shaper banner. If I had one of those, it would go right there. I got my new CO2 laser, trying some different things. Use this in the shop. I think it's going to be a great addition. This is my Shaper Origin workbench, basically. I got the Shaper Origin and the bits and bobs here in drawers. My workstation underneath of here. I've got a little sleeve here to keep my plate in so it stays nice and safe. I can just drop it up here and get to work. Sharpening station here. Keep the stones here in the drawer. Can sharpen right in the drawer or put them up the top. My workbench, kind of a hybrid woodworking and assembly table. Then I've got shelves of storage here and things that I get at a lot, hammers. This is my hand tool bin or box, kind of an homage to the H.O. Studley box from the drawers. Kind of ends right about there. Inside, I have my measuring tools, planes, chisels, that type of thing. Below here, I've got my sanders and domino and those types of tools. Battery-powered equipment, charging station, clamps, hand tools. Gershner box has kind of my picture framing tools, upholstery tools, bolts and screws, my Tormek sharpener. Then I have a saw stop table saw here, my miter saw and some storage. Then I got a statue of Jack Daniels and my workshop gnome. Got to have one of those. This is my old table saw that when I bought the saw stop, I kept this, put a dado blade in it just to have it for a quick rabbit or something. Then I've got my wood storage here. My router table here, I really enjoy having a router table with a cast iron top. Have a dedicated dust collector. It's just an old dust collector I had. This is my bench that kind of do metal work and things like that, repair stuff at. It's just nice to have that extra bench. This is my 18-inch bandsaw. I keep a resaw blade in this all the time. I am lucky enough to have two bandsaws. I've got a 14-inch bandsaw over here that's got a narrow blade, of course, a buffer, dust collector, air compressor that's hooked up to two different air compressor hoses, and my sander. This is my drum sander, my planer. Hope to upgrade this, but this one has been a workhorse for the years. 8-inch helical blade joiner. It's a Laguna. I have my drill press here. And this is an old workbench. It actually belonged to my father. He had it in 3 different workshops. This is the 2nd workshop I've had it in. I've been here about 7 years. It's been a great shop. I have my drafting board here and just use this whole shop. So appreciate you coming by. Thanks.
That's an incredible space, and
Great
I love the
production
story
value.
with that bench. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's better than the shop tour we did.
Thank you so much for sending that in, and absolutely, we're going to get you a banner for that space.
I think I sent it to him already.
Oh, well,
We've had
perfect.
that shop tour for like 2 months in the queue now. All right, let's move on to another demo. For this one, we're going to use Shaper Origin, our handheld CNC machine, and we're just going to add a little signature engraving or some initials to this cutting board that Jake has over here.
Yeah. So for this one, I'm just going to use a pencil. Yes, you can use pencil, but you want to make sure that it's a nice dark pencil and you're making nice consistent lines. But let's just do a boom, boom. A little initial that we're going to put on this very cool little cutting board that Russ just made.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I like it. Allow that access. Bingo. That looks great. Switch over to center line.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm looking for, that nice engraving.
Mm-hmm.
And I can actually see... oh, no, it got rid of it. There was a little piece of dust.
A little piece
that
of
it
lynch
captured.
right here. Oh, I
Yeah.
see it right there.
So we got rid of that. I'm happy with that.
Perfect.
I don't even
Let's
feel like I need to smooth that out.
go ahead and engrave that then.
Now here's the beautiful thing. I'm signed in on my Origin. I'm signed in here. So I'm just going to say save to my Shaper files. Call it JS. Done.
Nice.
It's on the tool. Got some double-sided tape on my workstation. Really got to put a trash can right here because I always throw things. And do a quick scan. For those of you that are new here, again, this is Shaper Origin. This is a handheld CNC machine that brings digital precision to the craft of woodworking. And it uses these funny looking markers, these dominoes out here, to see where it is in the world. And that allows us to accurately cut things freehand. All right, hit import. And at the very top of my list, I have that JS SVG.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that.
Nice. And the beauty of this computer vision oriented workflow, Jake just took this big picture that is his map of where he's working, and you can just place that engraving kind of wherever you want on that map. Very visual process. There are ways to do things more precisely. We cover that in a lot of other sessions, but this is a really good one for that organic workflow.
Totally. Now I'm going to bump this down a little bit just so it doesn't take up the entire cutting board. We'll do that right in the corner.
Beautiful.
There we go. 2 nice, consistent engraving lines.
Cool. You got your engraving bit chucked up.
Got my engraving bit chucked up, going just down 0.02 inches, so a really shallow cut.
Okay.
Let's do it.
This is going to be quick, but I'll just step off to the side here so we don't blow you guys out with router spindle noise. The way Shaper Origin works is it's basically auto-correct for your hands. So Jake is moving this plunge router around that workspace, and Origin is compensating for any little errors that he introduces to the system as long as he keeps the dot inside the circle. It's kind of like a video game. A lot of fun, very zen. And that's it. Yeah, a little brusha brush.
Brusha, brusha, brusha. That's awesome.
Bam, there you go. Take that to the farmer's market. $1 million idea right there.
Oh my gosh. Easily.
You don't even have to make the cutting boards. Just buy the cutting boards.
Yeah.
Personalize them. Just a cutting board personalizer. That might be heresy for some of our more wood-oriented viewers, but we're about that cash money.
Yeah. I always tell people if they buy an Origin, they could pay for it like that. If you buy a Trace and an Origin, it's already paid for.
There you go. I mean, that was it. That was our demo right there. That was a centerline mode and using a pencil. Those are the two things that we kind of mixed up in there. We've got one more demo for today, which is going to be relevant for anybody who wants to make these foam cutouts in their toolboxes or shadow boards to organize stuff. We're going to do an outline. So we've actually already traced a chisel, but we're going to show you the tracing process just to show you a couple of quick tips, because I think this is going to be a pretty popular use case. And for this one, I am going to use the Trace pen. Not for any reason really other than that we haven't used it yet today. So would you hand me a chisel? I think it's the third from the right that we traced before, not that it matters too much. So we're going to take this, lay it down here, and go ahead and trace. Now you might ask, why don't I just capture this as it is? We're going to cover that toward the end of the show. But for now, recommended process is just to trace stuff. Go ahead and trace that. And now you see I'm being pretty careful with the pen, but you don't have to be super, super careful. You know, it can have a little scribble like that. Let's even put one in there on purpose. And I'll show you why in just a minute. So we're doing this nice outline here. Finish going all the way around that. Muttering to myself as I go. There we go. Nice. That's a tracing. We've got a little booger down here by the bottom, but I'm going to show you how to fix that. The key with taking these tool cutout captures is that when you do an outline, it's going to give you both the inside and the outside of that line, and we're going to just select the inside. Whenever you trace something like this, that is going to be your cleanest option.
For things like tool inlays, but especially things like found hardware, something that you don't have a file for, this is a really applicable way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's one other thing. So you can see that I've got a kind of nasty center line on here. That's an indicator that my contrast isn't quite right. So we're going to go back in here, adjust scan. You can see how a lot of this is blown out. So I'm going to increase the blackness on this. There we go. I bumped that up, and now I've got a nice capture all the way around. That's a good line right there. Now I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to go into my options here, and I'm just going to remove that outer line. Done. I've got one little blip down here that I got to get rid of. There we go. Done. Now that's a nice clean line.
Beautiful.
And I could save this, send it to my files, etc. I already emailed this to myself earlier. So we've got this set up actually over here on the laptop with the X-Tool laser. So let me get the laser turned on. It is going to make a little bit of a whiny noise, and it's going to take a second to boot up here. But so we're not going to leave this on for very long, but just enough to cut this out. While this is booting up, we can look at the laptop and see what's going on. So the cool thing about this laser, it has a camera in it, so you can see what is going on. And this is that chisel outline that we took earlier that I imported. You can arrange this on the workspace. You can see that this is setting up that X-Tool M1. So it's got this brand new video capture. And we're just going to make sure that all the settings are right. So Jake's going to double check me because we did this earlier. We're lasering flat. That's right. We don't have black walnut plywood in here, but it is 3 millimeters. So I think that should be pretty close. We have the height raised up on these little triangular blocks here, and we'll let it plan its own paths. What do you think? Does that look good?
Nailed it.
All right. Process. Start. Sending file to the tool. Got to hit the smoke extractor. Does this thing have a switch?
Yeah, far side.
Oh, here we go. Max extraction. All right, last but not least, push the magic button. Wish we had an overhead cam on this side.
We do.
I don't know if that works. Oh yeah, we have to get the NDI set up. This is going to go probably fast enough that. Oh no, it's
about
it's like a little worm. 2.5 minutes. We better talk about something else. We could go ahead and start with the pro tips. What do you think about that?
Perfect.
I don't want to, we're not just going to wait for this. Okay, so, we did some demos. We're going to see how this turns out in a second, but we did have a list of pro tips to go through with you. And, I'm just going to pull these up on the computer because I want to make sure that we go through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pro tip number 1, line quality. I want to do a demo of old versus new markers. What do you think?
I love it.
All right. We have this old, nasty whiteboard marker. Let's get a new page here. Old, nasty whiteboard marker. And we're going to compare this with a new marker. Got the overhead cam. Okay. See how that's got like some really nice black areas and some more gray areas here? Contrast that with, where's that big fat Sharpie you were using earlier? This thing. Nice. Now
That was very
there's a
satisfying.
difference.
That's
Yeah,
a good squiggle.
that's a good squiggle. Let's see that trace frame. Let's just see what this does. It might actually work great because the app is like so adaptable and it fixes a lot of stuff. But yeah, okay, so there you go. You can see the difference between these two. So the more contrast, the better. You've got the good squiggle on the left, the good squiggle on the right. The one on the left is got a bunch of stuff going on in there. We could see if we might be able to fix this by adjusting that scan. We can bump up that blackness. It's better.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close. But if you look at the quality of these lines zoomed in, look at how smooth that is compared to still how crusty this line is. So I'm going to say it's really important to use a nice fresh marker for best results. Okay, number 2, dealing with reflections and shadows. We've got such a beautiful lighting setup here that I don't think we're going to be able to make a reflection happen. But we can do a shadow. So, let's pull in a drawing from earlier. We could just pull this chisel drawing in again. So we got this. We're going to bring in the trace frame. On the phone here, all you need to do to start again is just hit that camera button. Allow that camera. Again, I'll show you how to override that in a second. And if I put my hand over here, you can see I've got a shadow in the frame. Let's see what that does when I capture that. Oh, that was actually pretty good. Let's try that again. How do I make this worse? That's a harsher shadow. Yeah, okay, so I've got my fingers over there. What this actually did is it made the contrast really good on this capture, but a lot of the times what you're going to need to do to fix that shadow is go ahead and adjust your scan here. You can either make that more black or more white as you need to. Upping the whiteness removes that shadow. The other thing that you can do, that's a nice capture right there, is always go in here and just remove that part of the SVG with this removal tool. Hit done. You dealt with your shadow.
Perfect.
This thing's still cutting. What's next? Capturing on wood grain. All right. So I've got a piece of wood over here. This is for our woodworking audience. We got a lot of folks on here that do woodworking. I'm curious. If you're new to this, I would love for you to share in the chat what your craft is. How about that? If you're a vinyl cutter, let's hear about that. If you're an embroiderer, let's hear about that. Most of our audience does woodworking. So here's a woodworking example. You've got this knot here. You might want to remove that knot, right? So let's draw something around that. You've got your woodworking pencil on you, right?
I do.
Let's draw something around that and see if it'll capture it. So let's say we want to do a nice little knot patch. It's an organic knot patch. There we go. So let's see. I think it's pretty dicey. I bet it's not going to capture that. But let's see what it does. You know, Trace always does better with higher contrast. And yeah, you can barely see that pencil line. Oh yeah, that's nothing. That's not what we want. But that's okay. We have a workflow for this. We've got transparencies. Where did I put the transparency?
Here.
Got a big fat stack of paper. So let's clean this up a little bit.
Keep these to the side.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. We got our wood here. We've got our transparency.
Gritty side up or down?
Oh, I don't know. Gritty side up. I think I want to draw on the gritty side. And do you have the regular Sharpie? I'm going to take this. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this transparency to trace around this thing. Obviously, this is not going to be exactly the same. It's all very organic. Okay, perfect. Let's say we want our patch to look kind of like that. Now let's bring some paper in. I've got this paper pad. To get maximum contrast, we're going to just drop this transparency on the pad of paper. Bring the trace frame over it. And now since this thing is glossy, this is where we might be dealing with reflections actually. But it's looking pretty good so far. This is where that preview kind of lets you see where that contrast is going to be. So see, that's pretty blown out. We're going to rotate that so we can get a nice image. Bam.
Perfect.
Right there. Pretty good. Take that center line, and we could use this center line to make a positive and a negative to patch this knot. And you could do this for anything, tracing over things. So one more example that I have, I think this is the last example that we have before we'll pull out this piece of plywood, is tracing over old books and drawings. So this one's pretty fun. We got some scans from a viewer of old shaker clock parts. This is an escutcheon for a cabinet. This kind of covers your lock, and then we've got these clock hands here. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if we trace these. Are these any use at all?
Give me one moment.
Oh, did I close the phone?
I think I closed it.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Ned. Ned's really got to deal with that every time I do that. I think we're ready. There we go. Again, let's see what this looks like. Kind of black and white. It's probably going to be surprisingly good.
It's a lot of different things happening.
There we go. Oh yeah, it was really thinking there. So it picked out a lot of stuff here actually. So it picked out Young's, Watervliet, New York. So you could actually probably use that lettering, some of these numbers. But this hand on the right hand side is really nasty, and that's the one that I wanted to use. So what we did was we used vellum, and this is a very fine paper that you can use for tracing. So we stuck this in place, traced the details that we wanted of this hand, and if we bring our pad of paper over again, we'll show you what that looks like to trace. I think it's going to be way better. And again, if you have questions on any of this stuff, we're about 10 minutes away from Q&A. Make sure you ask your questions, and Ted in the chat will send those questions to us. We'll do a demo. Ready to capture. Let's get a snap of that. Okay, this looks like I do need to do a little bit of contrast adjustment because it's a pretty faint tracing. It's not quite black enough, so we're going to up that black amount. There we go. That looks good. That's really good.
Beautiful.
Perfect. And then we could save that to my files, save it to your phone, etc. And we actually cut one of these out. Where's that little brass piece from the other day?
The escutcheon?
Yeah,
It's
let's show that off. So this was that tracing.
and we cut this with Origin out of 16th inch brass.
All right, Jake, it's about to get stinky. Ooh, boy. I think the walnut setting was a lot higher than the birch setting that we used earlier. That's pretty charred.
There's a chisel-shaped hole through the tabletop now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, but let's show this off. This is our final fit on that chisel. And what we're really trying to show here is the scale and the fit more than anything else. So we got that chisel, and it fits perfectly in that cavity. It's like right on size there. Oh, I better scoot this up a little bit. There we go. That's the stuff. Now, this kind of segues into our last pro tip before we get into some freaky app stuff, how to turn off that camera notification. Why do I trace instead of capturing 3D, right? So you may have noticed that when we use the trace frame, we're not really particular about whether we take the photo directly straight over or from an angle, and that's because the dots on this trace frame and the app together allow the app to calculate all of the deformation from the camera and correct for all that stuff. It works really well for 2D. When you introduce 3D stuff, speaking of shadows, you get some really wild shadows, and you get some crazy perspective. So, I mean, let's just take a photo of this and see how it goes. Ned, I'm sorry, I turned the phone off again. We're going to pull up the streaming app. Broadcasting in 3, 2, 1. Nice. Go back into Safari here. Recapture this. Let's allow that camera. Now look at this. We've got some crazy shadows. We've got some crazy perspective. And, you know, ooh, that's ugly.
Yikes.
Theoretically, you could capture this, or you could capture something flatter. The flatter, the better. But the more three-dimensional something is, just the harder of a time you're going to have. Plus, the metal is reflecting. You see that big white spot down there? That's the metal reflection. So if I turn the blackness up to get that, it's really just not doing what I want. Now it's getting all of those shadows. So the pro tip here is do what the thing says and just trace.
Yeah.
Just trace. We're getting some requests for the poll question to come back up. I think this would be a fine time to do it. Let's pull that up for another minute or two, but we are going to get back into some phone demos here, so I want to make sure that those aren't covered up. But let's give people another minute or two to answer that poll question. The poll question again is, what are you most excited about to trace?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what else is on my pro tips list. We got line quality, new versus old, markers. We've got dealing with reflections and shadows. We've got capturing on wood grain using transparency or using vellum for other more complicated drawings. 3D objects versus flat objects. I will say that something like a leaf could be viable for capturing directly. The thinner, the better. But we've captured, like, you know, a cool monstera leaf or an oak leaf. You could tape it down. You could capture that. The more three-dimensional something gets, the harder of a time you're going to have. We covered tracing over busy drawings using vellum. Okay, a couple things left. We're going to cover camera permissions. We're going to cover making a shortcut on your phone's homepage. We're going to cover accessing via the QR code or just typing the URL into the browser. And then hiding the URL bar, which is kind of fun and gives you a little bit more space in the app itself. Okay, so let's say we pull that poll question down now. I hope everybody's gotten a chance to enter that, but if you missed it, just tune in 2 Thursdays from now, and you'll be entered to win. So let's see. The next thing that we want to do here is show off how to enable your camera permissions. Now, this is in Safari on iOS. This is going to be a little bit different for everybody. But what I'm going to do in Safari is hit this camera button up here. And this is where you've got all different kinds of website settings. I'm literally going to hit website settings here. And this is going to tell me what permissions this website has. This says every time you load trace.shapertools.com, ask to use the camera. I think trace.shapertools.com is pretty trustworthy. So I'm going to go ahead and say allow camera. And that's all you need to do to get rid of that nagging camera notification every time you use Trace. It's only going to use the camera that you specify. It's only going to use it when the app is open. And you are probably only ever going to be opening the app when you're ready to capture stuff. So now if I refresh this site, it is not going to say anything about allowing a camera. It's just ready to go.
Nice.
So that's really handy. All right. Thing 2, making a shortcut. So again, this is going to be a little bit different on every device, but in Safari on iOS, I'm going to hit this up arrow button here. And if I scroll down here, you can find add to home screen. The presets are just fine. It's going to say Shaper Trace, trace.shapertools.com. I'm going to add that. And there it is on the home screen right there. If I click that, it's going to send you directly to that web app. Jake, you do have to log in again, though.
All right.
Let's take the phone down so we don't blow up Jake's privacy. The last thing I'm going to show is hiding the URL bar on here. And that just gives you a little bit more space in the app to see what you're doing. Could help you with selections, things like that, when you're trying to select different vectors. Oh, you know what? This is funny, actually. Because it's not in Safari, it's automatically hiding the URL bar. But if you're in Safari, you are going to, again, hit this button up here, and you can say hide toolbar, and there you go. You've got that full frame view. And you can always go back to that by, like, I don't know what it is. It's like swiping down or tapping or something. I'm not an iPhone person. All you want to do is trace anyway. All you're going to be doing for the next, 2 weeks is tracing. This is all you need.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You can access Trace at all times via the QR code on the back of Trace, but I think that's probably the most cumbersome way to do it after you set up Trace the first time. And last but not least, storage and cleaning.
Yeah.
Right?
Not too much maintenance on this thing, but you do want to make sure that it's not covered in dust necessarily when you're taking your captures. So just a lightly damp cloth, give it a wipe down. If you're tossing it on dusty wood all day, do the same to the back so that those rubberized feet keep their tack.
But at the same time, it's not that precious.
It's not that precious.
So,
Yeah.
just take care of it the way you would anything. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. See ya.